She's scrolling through old messages right now. Not because she misses you, because something feels wrong and she can't explain why. You didn't yell, you didn't beg, you didn't send the paragraph explaining everything you deserve to say. You just stopped. And that silence is doing something to her mind that no argument ever could. Here's what nobody tells men. A woman doesn't remember the men who chased her the hardest. She remembers the one who stopped, the one who looked at how she treated him and simply decided he was done shrinking himself to keep her comfortable. You want to know the one thing that actually hurts a woman who doesn't value you? It's not revenge. It's not a call-out. It's something so quiet she won't even recognize it as pain until it's already changed her. So what is it? And why does almost no man have the discipline to do it? If you're watching this at 1 a.m. with your phone face down on the table because you can't stop checking it, this is for you. If you've replayed the last conversation 20 times, looking for the moment you could have said something different, something better, something that would have made her see you, this is for you too. You are not weak for feeling this. You are a man who cared, in a world that mistakes caring for weakness. But here's the distinction that changes everything. Caring about someone and abandoning yourself for them are not the same thing. Most men never learn to separate the two. That's not a character flaw. Nobody taught you. School doesn't teach it. Your father, statistically, probably didn't either. Here's my promise to you in the next 20 minutes. You're going to understand exactly what happens in a woman's mind when a man overgives, over-explains, and over-chases, and why that behavior, no matter how well-intentioned, quietly kills the very attraction it's trying to create. Then you're going to learn the specific deliberate action that reverses it, not manipulation, not games, a genuine internal shift that changes how you show up, which changes how she experiences you. I'm also going to tell you something later in this video about the exact moment a woman's perception of a man flips, the precise psychological trigger. And most men go their entire lives without ever knowing it exists. Write that down if you need to. It's coming. And second, I'm going to show you why the thing you're most afraid to do right now, the thing that feels like losing her, is statistically the only thing that has ever brought her back to seeing you the way she used to. Not tricks, not tactics. A principle so old that Stoic philosophers were teaching it 2,000 years before modern psychology gave it a name. Let's be clear about something first, though, because I don't want you walking away from this video thinking the goal is to win her back through some clever strategy. That mindset is exactly what got you here. The goal isn't to perform a technique that makes her chase you. The goal is to become a man who no longer needs her chase to feel whole. And ironically, that is the only version of you she's ever truly been drawn to. Does that sound contradictory? It isn't. Stay with me, because the next section is going to break apart everything you think you understand about why she pulled away, and replace it with the truth almost no one has the courage to say out loud. Most men believe a woman pulls away because she stopped caring. That's the story your mind tells you at 2 a.m., and it's almost always wrong. Here's what actually happens. In the early stages of any connection, a woman is unconsciously testing something, not your love, not your loyalty, but your relationship with yourself. Attachment theory calls this differentiation. It's your ability to stay emotionally grounded and self-defined even when someone you care about pulls away, gets cold, or creates distance. When a man fails that test, when he starts explaining himself more, calling more, texting "we need to talk" for the 5th time, something happens in her nervous system that has nothing to do with logic. She doesn't consciously think he's needy, I'm out. Her body just registers a loss of safety. Because on some primal level, a woman is wired to feel protected by a man who is emotionally self-sufficient. The moment he becomes dependent on her validation to feel okay, that protection disappears, and attraction cannot survive without it. This is where cognitive dissonance enters the picture, and this is the part almost nobody explains correctly. When you chase, apologize repeatedly, or over-explain your worth, you're handing her two conflicting pieces of information at once. Your words say, "I'm valuable, I'm a catch, you're making a mistake." But your behavior, the desperation, the persistence, the willingness to accept disrespect just to keep her around, says the opposite. And when words and actions collide like that, the brain doesn't believe the words. It always believes the behavior. So every time you overgive to prove your worth, you're actually proving the opposite of what you intend. Let me give you a scenario, because I want you to see this clearly, not just hear it. picture a man named Daniel. His girlfriend starts pulling away, shorter replies, canceled plans, less warmth. Daniel panics. He sends a long message about how much she means to him. She replies with one line. He sends another message, softer this time, almost begging for reassurance. Days pass. He calls. She doesn't pick up. He texts again. By the end of that week, Daniel has told her, through pure repetition, that his sense of worth depends entirely on her attention. He didn't say those words. He didn't have to. His actions did it for him. Now picture a different version of Daniel. Same situation. She starts pulling away. This time, he notices the shift, feels the sting of it honestly, and does something almost nobody does. Nothing performative. He doesn't chase. He doesn't punish her with coldness either. He simply redirects his energy back into his own life, his own goals, his own peace, while remaining polite and available if she reaches out, but never chasing the void she left. Here's the part that will surprise you. That second version of Daniel isn't playing it cool. He's not running a strategy. He has done something far more powerful. He's re-anchored his sense of value to himself instead of to her responsiveness. And this is precisely the shift a woman's nervous system responds to, even if she can't articulate why. Because here's the truth. Almost no one says out loud. A woman doesn't fall for reassurance. She falls for stability she cannot control. The moment she senses she can control your emotional state with her attention, with a text, with silence, with a delay, the tension that created attraction in the first place quietly dies. This is also why ego protection matters so much in these situations. When a man is rejected or devalued, his ego often demands he fix it immediately, prove his worth, correct her perception, get closure. But that urgency is the ego trying to protect itself from discomfort, not genuine strength. Real strength tolerates the discomfort of not knowing, without collapsing into action just to relieve the anxiety. So what actually hurts a woman who has stopped valuing a man, more than any argument, more than any accusation? It's watching him become unreachable, not through cruelty, but through wholeness. It's realizing he didn't fall apart. He didn't need to be saved by her attention. He simply continued without her permission. That is the single most disorienting thing you can do to someone who has grown used to being the center of your emotional gravity. Now you understand why it hurts. The real question is how you actually build that, not as a mask, not as a manipulation tactic, but as something real. Because if it isn't real, she will sense the performance instantly. Let's talk about exactly how you build it. Section 4, Solution plus Practical Steps, 1100-1830. Step 1. You go silent, but not as punishment, as restoration. This isn't the childish, silent treatment where you're secretly hoping she notices and comes running. That version still has your emotional energy attached to her reaction. Real silence means you stop initiating contact because you are redirecting that same energy into rebuilding your own life, your body, your work, your friendships, your discipline. Here's the psychology behind why this works on a woman specifically. Her attraction is built partly on unpredictability and partly on your demonstrated ability to walk away from things that don't serve you. When you go quiet, not out of anger but out of self-respect, you become unreadable again. And the human brain is drawn, almost against its will, to what it cannot fully predict or control. The most common mistake here is treating no contact as a countdown timer. I'll go quiet for 21 days and then she'll come back. That mindset defeats the entire purpose because you're still emotionally waiting on her. You've just hidden the chasing behind a calendar. Real no contact has no expiration date attached to her behavior. It ends when you no longer need it to end a certain way. Step 2. You rebuild your identity independent of the relationship. You need to understand something that sounds harsh but will set you free. Right now, a large part of your identity is fused with her opinion of you. That's why her silence feels unbearable. It's not just missing her, it's losing access to the mirror you were using to measure your own worth. So, you go build something that has nothing to do with her. Not to make her jealous. That's still chasing, just in disguise. You build because a man who is expanding his life, his skills, his body, his finances, his mind, becomes someone whose value doesn't fluctuate with her mood. Women are extraordinarily perceptive to this shift. Even from a distance, even through mutual friends, even through your social media, even through nothing at all. Because when you finally do speak to her again, your entire nervous system communicates it before your words do. The common mistake here is doing this performatively, hitting the gym only so she'll see the after photos, posting the trip only so she'll see the caption. Here's what you do instead. Build it for the version of you that has to live with himself for the next 50 years, not for her Instagram feed. If your motivation is her audience, you haven't actually changed. You've just changed your costume. Step 3. When contact does happen, you respond from abundance, not anxiety. If she reaches out, and understand, this is not guaranteed. This is not the goal. This is simply what sometimes happens when a man does the first 2 steps correctly. Your response matters enormously. Not the words. The energy underneath the words. Here's the psychology. A woman who has pulled away is often unconsciously testing whether the old you is still available on demand. If you respond within minutes, with warmth dialed up to 11, eager to fix everything immediately, you confirm her old model of you. Nothing has changed in her mind. But if you respond at your own pace, warm but unhurried, friendly but not desperate for the conversation to go anywhere specific, you present new information her brain has to process. And new information is what reopens attraction that routine has closed. The mistake almost every man makes here is over-explaining. The moment she reaches out, the floodgates open. I've missed you so much. I've been thinking about everything. I know what I did wrong. I promise I've changed. Stop. Every one of those sentences is you handing your emotional stability back to her, the very thing you just spent weeks rebuilding. Let your changed behavior speak. Don't narrate it. Step 4. You set the standard silently, through consistency, not through conversation. You do not need to give her a speech about your boundaries. Boundaries announced are often boundaries begged for. Boundaries lived are boundaries respected. If you no longer accept last-minute cancellations, don't lecture her about it. Simply no longer be available for last-minute plans, calmly, without drama, every single time. If you no longer accept being an afterthought, don't announce it. Just stop being reachable at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday after 3 days of silence from her. Here's why this works on a psychological level. Consistency, not intensity, is what rewires someone's perception of you. One dramatic conversation about your worth gets forgotten in a week. 30 days of quiet, consistent self-respect gets internalized as your new identity. The mistake most men make is confusing a single powerful moment, a speech, a confrontation, an ultimatum, with actual change. Real change is boring. It's repetitive. It's unremarkable from the outside and unshakable on the inside. None of these 4 steps are about her, even though every one of them affects how she sees you. That's not an accident. That's the entire principle. I know what tonight looks like for some of you. Ceiling above you, phone within reach, chest tight, mind replaying a version of events that changes slightly every time you tell it to yourself. You're not broken for feeling this. You're a man whose nervous system hasn't yet learned that it can survive without her reassurance. That skill is learnable. It is not a personality trait you either have or don't. Here's what the impatience is actually about, if you're honest with yourself. It's not really about her coming back. It's about wanting the discomfort to end right now. Your mind has convinced you that her return is the only thing that can turn this feeling off. But that's a trap, because it means your peace is permanently outsourced to someone else's decision. And a man whose peace depends on another person's choices will always be at war with himself. So let's reframe the silence you're sitting in, because right now it probably feels like punishment. It isn't. It's construction. Every day you don't reach out, don't check her socials, don't send the message you've drafted 4 different ways in your notes app. You are laying a brick in a version of yourself that doesn't collapse when someone withdraws their attention. That's not a small thing. Most people, men and women both, never build that. They spend their whole lives needing external permission to feel okay. The Stoics had a phrase for this, and it's older than any modern self-help concept you'll find online. Amor fati, the love of what happens. Not resignation, not pretending you don't feel the loss. It means you stop fighting reality and start extracting strength from exactly what's in front of you, painful as it is. Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing to men in comfortable circumstances. He was writing to himself in the middle of wars, betrayals, and grief, reminding himself that the obstacle is the way, that this exact discomfort you're avoiding is the material your discipline is made from. Here's the reframe I want you to actually hold on to. The silence you're maintaining right now is not you giving up on her. It is you refusing to negotiate your own dignity for a temporary hit of relief. Those are two completely different things, and your mind will try to convince you they're the same when it's 3 a.m. and you're weak with exhaustion. They are not the same. One is collapse, the other is character. And here's something worth sitting with. Whether she ever comes back or not is no longer the most important outcome of this chapter of your life. I know that's hard to hear when she still feels like the center of everything, but the man who comes out the other side of this, the one who didn't beg, didn't chase, didn't abandon himself to keep someone who had already checked out, that man carries something into every future relationship, every friendship, every room he walks into that he didn't have before. An unshakable floor, a version of self-respect that isn't conditional on anyone's approval. That is worth more than her coming back. And ironically, it's also the only thing that ever makes her come back, if she's going to at all. So tonight, when your hand hovers over her name in your contacts, I want you to remember this video. Remember that the man who stays silent isn't the one who lost. He's the one who finally stopped losing himself. If this video put words to something you've been carrying alone, subscribe. Because this channel exists for men who are done performing strength and ready to actually build it. And tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you're doing right now to become the version of yourself she'll never forget? I read every single one.